Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshifted.net/375, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshifted.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 375th edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this edition, part 6 of the Oregon Coast Remix. You know, sometimes journeys have distinct ends, and sometimes those endings are a little more flexible. Well, here we are. In the penultimate episode of the Oregon Coast Remix, we mashed together my departure from Bandon, Oregon, and my return a week later and a few hundred miles south on the Mendocino coast, where Mysterious James and I catch up on his ride and reflect on what's going on with cycling on the Pacific coast. Before we jump in, programming notes. Best of next week is honestly the only episode that makes any sense in the entire run of the show. As we wind down this 10-year celebration ride, it's going to be an hour-long condensed podcast of my 2014 ride down the Pacific coast that started it all. It has not been re-released since, 2014, so it's about time we dusted it off. The week after the best of is the takeaways episode. And the week after that, something I've been working on for months and months and months, finally gets the big reveal.
Good morning from Bandon, Oregon, and from Bullard's Beach Campground. Very quick morning here. We got up at 6, and we are now loading up and going. Hopefully, we'll be getting out of here around 7-ish or so. Bus leaves at 8:20. It's only about 3 miles away, so yeah, getting there plenty early, getting a cup of coffee so James and I can hang out for one last kind of proper hang until about this time next week, where if things work out, plans work out, he'll end up riding through a place where I'll be. So that'll be kind of fun. All right, more to come. Got some packing to do. From Crescent City, California. Just like that. Boy, it is always stunning how much it feels like teleporting after you're bicycling for days on end. And then all of a sudden you hop on motorized transit and it is just like, boom, days worth of riding in quite literally minutes. Let's see, it's about 3 hours from when I got on the bus. And as near as I can figure, it's 3 days of riding for James to get here. It's a lot, obviously. And that's usually what it is it's about an hour of motorized traffic for a day of riding, give or take. Depends on the terrain, of course, and how many miles you do, but it's pretty wild. If I were to continue south from here, I look off in the foggy distance, the South Hills beckon, some of the more challenging parts of this portion of the ride, but beautiful and redwoods and just amazing. And it's always a kind of a bummer when I finish my tours that I know I'm always leaving behind more riding. I certainly left more behind from the original version of this trip, but it still was pretty cool. I was able to overcome the challenges with that eating situation, whatever that was. I'm going to investigate that some more. I've definitely got some takeaways that we will be talking about. What feels good is normally when I am riding with James, and we don't do it enough, and he's literally the only person I am able to ride with for all sorts of different reasons, but I would feel a bit of melancholy because it's sort of like, I'm saying goodbye to my buddy, right? But I know that I'm going to see him actually in a few days. So it kind of made for the trip to be like you weren't dreading an end to it. And we've been in touch as I've been going down the coast. I'm like, it's still sunny here, but it's foggy there and all that. So I think that's a nice element to this trip, is that I'm not feeling suddenly alone, which I think if any of you have ever ridden with somebody, that's often how it can feel when you end up separating from somebody. But so that'll be fun, and James may make an appearance in a matter of seconds for all we know, because I know he's going to have some takeaways for his portion of the ride between where we separated in the southern part of the Oregon coast and then where he's going to end up near Mendocino. So But yeah, my adventure continues. This is not actually the end of my adventure. I now am going to be going here from downtown Crescent City to the Del Norte Airport, which is Crescent City's airport. It is kind of a commercial airport. There is one airline that serves it. It flies to kind of tertiary airports I've now discovered in Oakland and kind of LA. It says that it serves LA and Las Vegas, which must mean it's way out in the desert or something like that, or way away from LA proper. But interesting possibilities. I am going to look into it for making some kind of connections as a possibility, because this would be a fun place to start a tour. That's for darn sure. Of course, Medford is always a possibility. You can get transport from there to here, because I'm doing it from here to there today even. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Not much else. Crescent City is a little bit on the, I would call it busy. Traffic is here certainly, but it's always a little quiet. Sometimes there's some action going on, and I'm seeing people walking around. It's nice to be in California again. It's been a little bit, so I'll be spending some time here very briefly. My car is ready in technically an hour and a half, but I think I'll be there an hour early, so we'll see how that all goes. One of the people on the bus was going to the Medford Airport, which is where I am headed, although I'll be having a hotel tonight. And it got me into thinking about the costs that I have incurred for making the choice that I did, which is to get a car, an expensive car, no less, a one-way car rental, versus probably, I'll bet you it was no more than $20 additional. It was $9 to get down here to stay on that bus. But last year's experience was just so bad that I've decided that I'm going to spend silly money on this. And also, I will have a little bit more freedom in the vehicle, and it will also allow me something that I wouldn't have tomorrow morning, and that is I'm going to pack the bike up fully tonight, and then I will drive to the airport, drop it off, and then I will be able to bring my bags to the airport rather than riding to the airport and having to pack everything up. So we'll see how that goes. As it occurs to me right here, I don't know what the car rental situation is, where the drop-off is. And if I have to get a shuttle or something like that, hauling a bike and a big duffel bag in a shuttle is not going to be very fun. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if that's the case. I'm hoping that it's one of those ones where it's a garage or a lot right by the airport, and I can just bring the stuff. But it's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy. I know that. And it'll be early morning because the flight leaves at 7. So you'll be along for the ride. All right. Well, let's not look too far ahead. Let's get to the Del Norte Regional Airport and see how this all goes. From Pebble Beach Drive, what a stunning view here. It's, to close out the trip with these views is something special. A lot of, interesting, very wealthy homes and homes that are getting rehabbed. It's really interesting seeing some older homes, small ones, big ones. Yeah, it's just, Crescent City's an interesting mix, but Pebble Beach Drive is gorgeous. Descending now down into the beach, and I'll be hooking up with Airport Road in a moment. Can do a lot worse having an airport that connects this way. Very easy to bike to, that's for sure. All right, you're getting way too much wind. We'll end this. From the inside of a Jeep at the Crescent City Airport, Del Norte County Regional Airport. Worked out just fine. We are all set. This Jeep is familiar and weird at the same time. It's way more vehicle than I would ever need or want. I don't even know what type of Jeep it is. It's kind of hard shell, but not. Anyways, you don't need to know this. But we are going to get out of here, and we've got to drive to Medford, Oregon. And it is the continuation of the adventure. The bike is here with me, just not rolling. From Medford, Oregon. I went just fine. It went just fine. The buses got me where I needed to go. Rode, obviously, to the car rental place. You heard all about that. The car, the Jeep was fine. The ride was fine. Ended up getting a quick lunch here in Medford, and then realized that my day, even though I had a day here, I just didn't have a ton of energy to be able to do anything really productive. But I found a cool place in Medford for a couple of beers. Got stuff for dinner. I'm in a hotel that is got a kitchen, kind of those suite style hotels here by the airport. So I knew that I'd have a fridge and all that other kind of stuff, and dishes and plates and all that. So did my bag to salad trick for, I think, it might be the fourth big salad I've had this week. And bought some beers to bring home, but did not have any more in me to have any celebratory beers, which is fine. More for home, I suppose. And watched Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. That'll tell you what day it is. Congratulations, Florida. The flight tomorrow is 7:30 a.m. I go to LA, have a fairly decent layover there. Enough that you could consider leaving the airport, but I probably won't. I'll probably just take it easy and relax. I did pack up the bike here in the hotel, and I'm really glad that I had a conversation with James about it, because he said, "Oh, you don't have to take off the back wheel with that bag, do you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah. And a whole bunch of things kind of flooded back. So the bag is designed for keeping the front wheel on and removing the seat post and then turning the handlebars on most bikes. On this bike, it doesn't really work. And what I was running into problems with this bike, with this bag, to do it the way that the bag is designed, was my front platform and the front fenders. So I don't have a front platform anymore, and I decided to remove the front fender. And boy, it just fits like a glove. The rear rack does make it a little more challenging, but since I have now a more, I'll call it streamlined rear rack, it fit, and it fit nicely. It fits the correct way as opposed to upside down and turned around. So I'm really liking how I've subtly redesigned this bike and how it works. And I'm looking forward to more with it. And there'll be more takeaways. At the bottom of my panniers were the fork bag frames that I removed because they were just failing. And I'm glad that I made the call before I even really rode at all to remove those, because although I really would have liked to have had the bags up front, those just weren't going to work out, especially with the fact that I had trouble with it on the buses as well. So ended up making the right call on that, and I'll have much more time to reflect on things like that when we do the takeaway episode, which will be coming your way probably very soon. So with all of that, I don't think it's probably all that interesting to have you come along for the ride in terms of me taking a rental car back and flying. So I think this is going to be it for this particular entry in the Oregon Coast Remixed. I look forward to my next trip to Oregon, my next Oregon coastal ride, to be as remixed as this one, because that really made a big difference in my enjoyment. And I think that doing the exact same campsites has been awesome for me, but now that I've really opened up the ability to kind of rethink all of the different types of campsites that are out there, some very good ones, some perfectly capable ones, it gets me thinking about looking beyond what I've done in the past. And so the next trip may be just as different as this one. And that's going to be really awesome, because the Oregon coast is such a great ride, regardless of where you stay or how you do it. It's just so fantastic, and it'll definitely always be in my rotation. All right. Well, that's that for the big summer tour. So just so many great adventures with bicycles to share with you all. Good morning. Bonus content, Little River, California. And we're on Little River Airport Road. And apologies for the wind. I am descending down to Highway 1, part of the Pacific Coast route. I am also on a different bike. I am on my Brompton, and I am heading towards Mendocino, California, which is about 2 miles away. And I'm going to be meeting Mysterious James. Now, I've already discovered something I don't like. I have my messenger bag on my rear rack here, and it is a disaster of heel strike. So I'm going to be going down the hill here to Little River proper, and I am going to put it on my shoulder. Again, apologies for this horrific wind. Yeah, so we're going to try that again. I am in Little River, and getting so much wind because I'm going Nobo. And the wind, of course, is in my face, as you would expect. Such a beautiful, picturesque coast here. So excited to be riding this. It's fun to be on the Brompton here. If I was going to go any further south, it would be really difficult to pull this off. It's where the Highway 1 really becomes Highway 1. But there's still some terrain around here, and I think it will push the Brompton to its limits in many ways. But it's not that bad. And I'm meeting James in Mendocino for some beers and maybe some lunch, and that'll be fun. And he's going to be camping at a campsite a stone's throw from where I'm staying, and it's super easy for him to hang out tonight. So rather than drive and have a car there, which I could, I did the other day, thought I would bike and thought I would bring you along. And it's a little more of an extension, and hoping to share some stuff that James has experienced as he continued the ride from Bandon all the way down here to the Mendocino area. So lots of interesting things that he just has discovered along the way. And Brompton time. All right, more to come.
All right, so James and I met up in Mendocino. We had a few beers. We rode back here, and we decided that we would talk a little bit about a couple of things. One, James's experience over the last 6 days, and we had to count because we have bike touring brain, and we'll talk about that. And then also the other thing about whether anybody else other than us does this anymore. Yeah. So, all right, so James, when we last left Bandon, Oregon, you went to Humbug Mountain Classic.
Yes.
They have Wi-Fi there.
Yeah, I was able to get Wi-Fi by the check-in.
Yeah, the camp host area.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think is new.
Yeah, that was new.
Which is nice because there's no cell signal there. It's like
right
at the bottom of a mountain.
Yep.
And there's nothing there. So that's kind of handy because I always feel isolated there, but having the ability to get Wi-Fi is kind of huge. That's really great.
Yep.
Then you did some baller stuff for the next few days. You definitely took the remix to heart, at least from my perspective, because you did not stay at any campground that I am used to staying at until a few days later. So your first one would have been in Crescent City. That's Florence Keller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Florence Keller City Park, and it's a really nice redwood grove, just maybe 3 or 4 miles north of Crescent City. It's a really nice campground.
Hiker-biker?
No, there was no hiker-biker.
It was gorgeous. You sent a picture.
Yeah, it's a redwood grove. It was $20, but that's fine. Yeah. It's a nice spot.
Yeah, camping there, I've historically spent a lot of money in the Crescent City area, and that's cheaper, and I need to do that next time. And it looks great. So that's a next time for sure. Sumeg, this is another one I'm not familiar with, and it was past Elk Prairie.
Right. This is my first time staying there. So
up and over the South Hills.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You had crazy fog.
Yeah, coming out of Crescent City, there's a pretty big climb, and I hit it pretty early in the morning, and the visibility was terrible. And actually, I was pretty nervous the whole time.
Yeah.
Just because there was maybe 10 or 15 feet visibility, and I'm wearing one of those goofy safety vests, and I have my blinky light on, but I don't know that cars could see me until they were right up behind me. But I just control what you can control, and I just picked my line and stayed to it. But luckily there wasn't much traffic.
Has the construction been finished there?
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yes, there wasn't any construction. The road was smooth and in good shape. It was just really, really foggy and low visibility, which is always very stressful.
Was that a pretty heavy mileage day to get you past Elk Prairie, or was that not too bad?
It may have been about 60.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It wasn't
not too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
Good site?
Yeah, it's my first time there. It was interesting when I was checking in, the ranger let me know that there had been a lot of bear activity the hiker-biker area all week. And so they comped me. It seemed like a weird, they were like, we're not going to charge you.
Don't sue us if you get mauled.
Yeah, I think it was only $5 anyway. But yeah, they didn't charge me. And I didn't see a bear. But yeah, it was a nice site. There were individual hiker-biker sites. I was the only cyclist there. Yeah, I would stay there again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I saw a bear at Elk Prairie once across the road
up above. That's the only time I've seen a bear in that area.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen bear scat on the side of the road, but yeah, I don't think I've seen a bear on the coast at all.
That was a big surprise. That was a few years ago. I'm sure I mentioned it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sumag. So your next was Burlington, right?
Yep. Yeah, Burlington. It came down through Avenue of the Giants. That's
classic.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Burlington's a nice campground.
Hard to say no to that.
Yeah.
And then the hot box.
Yeah, then it was to Standish Hickey, and that's where the route takes you inland, and it gets really hot and sunny and exposed.
And it's been sunny, like way sunnier than normal. Even here on the coast, here in Mendocino today, we both remarked how much sunnier it's been, and that sun just burns through. It's 60 degrees at most right now, but in the sun, it's hot. It's just hot. So in the hot box we were in touch, and I did not want to be where you were, but you did it.
Yeah. The stretch after, like Garberville, like all the way through to Standish Hickey, that is by far the hottest stretch of the route. It's just exposed. It's really far inland, and so it's always nice to get back closer to the coast.
And you discovered a new to me bus. There's a bus service that Humboldt Transit Services that actually picks up in Garberville, amongst other places. You could, as far up as Eureka, it looked like, and it could take you right to Standish Hickey, which is very intriguing.
Yeah, it looks like they've expanded some of the regional transit.
Yeah.
I don't know, if they have any, bike accommodations, but I would imagine so.
I'd imagine most of them do, but that was a huge news because the idea of like, okay, you can go to Fortuna, stay a night there. You could go to Burlington and then come back and then grab that bus in Fortuna, or ride to Garberville early in the morning and then get that bus through the worst of that. So like if none of this sounds like any fun, and trust me, it's not, that bus is there now. So it's kind of shades of my ride last year with the PDX to SF2X ride. So that's kind of cool. All right. So you get up and over Leggett to the blessed, sweet, cold air of the Pacific Coast. And
it's probably, it may have been 15 or 20 degrees cooler. Like once, like you get up and over Leggett and like right on the coast again. It's like another world.
Noticeably better.
Yeah.
Noticeably better.
So
but
nice.
The sun is still strong.
It's strong, but the weather is cooler and there's a nice breeze. It's just so much nicer for cycling.
And then we met up yesterday, and the rest is history. James, let's do a count. The number of touring cyclists that have been in any camp since we last left.
Zero in camp. However, I did see a couple that was on tour. They were heading northbound, and I saw them right outside of Burlington. So we didn't speak or anything. We just waved and said hi. But those are the only two tours that I've seen
in that whole 6 days.
Yep.
It is wild, people. Like James and I are like kind of going,
I don't know where where everybody's gone.
If a little bit of speculation time, and we've talked about this offline, but like number one could be it's just dumbass luck, right? It could be dumbass luck. The other is it may be that some people aged out, and then the young folk of the past have decided to move on to other things like bike packing, getting off of the road.
Hiking. There may be like backpacking and hiking and getting out in nature.
Yeah, it just may be that bicycle touring on the roads has diminished in popularity, possibly, because people don't want to be on the roads with vehicles. And I get that. But it's still weird because
it really is.
10 years ago, we would ride this route and you'd have someone to hang with every single night if you wanted to in camp. And you'd at least have somebody to say hi to.
Yeah, sometimes we'd have like 10 people in camp.
Oh, yeah. And now here we are 10 years later, and we literally have not seen anybody in any of these camps.
Yep.
And that's strange. It's strange. It's a strange thing. So, not to say that is there anybody out there listening? I know you are, but like,
and I'm not even seeing them on the road. So it's not as though they're staying in warm showers or hotels or doing it differently. Like
you'd pass or be passed by somebody.
Exactly. It's not only that they're not in camp. It's like they're not on the road.
Yeah.
I just don't see them at all.
Could be that they're on different routes. Could be like there's all sorts of things. I've seen people on the C&O, but like this has been true since COVID, that the Pacific Coast route seems to be much less traveled, and that is kind of stunning to me because it's such a great route, but there must be all sorts of different factors for it. So who knows? You are continuing. You've got, what do we figure, 3 days left?
Yeah, I think I have 3 days to get back to San Francisco.
Gotcha, including a 75-mile push at the end.
The last day I usually push to get home so I can have a hot shower and sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
So that's quite motivating.
And that makes sense. It was funny because I was thinking, I've never felt the desire to do that. And the difference is that you have a home and a shower to get to.
Yeah.
And for me, it would always be the end of a tour, so I would be cutting short my tour. And of course, those are two very different things. So
Yeah. And that last campsite north of San Francisco, Samuel P. Taylor, it's about a 3-hour ride into the city, and so I know the route, and I can just push that.
I think we can
3
rate. I think we
hours.
can properly rate Samuel P. Taylor on our 1 to 10 scale. Is it a 3.5?
Oh man, well,
is it a 4?
It's kind of like my home. It's kind of like my home camp. So I have some.
Yeah, because
I have very mixed feelings about
that's
it.
That's an S240 kind of camp for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of times I'll just like ride out there and camp and then just.
Well,
ride
let's
back
talk
home.
amenities. There's water there. There's no charging.
Correct.
Limited cell phone signal.
Yeah.
Terrible campsites.
Yes.
There's only 2 flat spots in the entire camp.
Yeah.
Regularly fills up with people. So unless you get there, those 2 spots get taken real quick.
Yep. Yeah. It can get busy, and there aren't good site selection spots. So everybody, the tents are close together. The ground is uneven and sloped, and there are only, I think, 2 picnic tables, and a lot of times there'll be 10 people there.
Yeah.
And so
mixed bag of who would be there too sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know. I can't give it more than a 4. I feel like.
Yeah. That's defensible.
3.5 almost.
Yeah.
What did we give Sunset Bay?
I can't.
I think we gave it. Did we give that a 5? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I feel bad about staying. Oh, the showers are also like super dank.
Yeah, they
the bathrooms you do have. The bathrooms are right there, so maybe I give it a 4. I can't give it a 3.5.
Yeah,
but it's just not great for. There's a bunch of not great things about it.
Yeah, it's different though if you're the only one there.
Oh, totally.
But then you get. Yeah, like if it gets crowded, then
it quickly degenerates.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the way that I see it. It's like if I'm the only one there, if I'm there with like you.
Yeah.
And we have a place to ourselves, like then it's really nice. But if it's crowded, then it's not a great place to camp.
And last year it was sort of like it was crowded and we talked to each other, but nobody seemed to be interested in kind of engaging because they were all into their own thing. You know?
There were just a bunch of groups that were together,
which is fine. We've both had interesting interactions with larger groups there, but like not the last time. So it's a mixed bag. I feel like you have to give it a range almost.
Right. Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be great, and then sometimes it's like, this wasn't not so great.
But it's low enough for you to skip, which I totally get on a way back. All right. Well, James, this has been amazing. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Sure. This is
fun.
Low
these many weeks for people.
Yeah.
Because this has been weeks for all of them. So days for you, weeks for them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any last thoughts? How do you like the remix?
This is fun. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Remix is good.
Yeah.
I think mixing it up is a good way to do it. Addendum. We figured it out. Cool. Maybe. I have a theory. My theory is that the reason why there are way fewer people on the Pacific Coast is because they have decided to do a different big trip because the Pacific Coast route is absolutely kneecapped at Big Sur. The road is out. There's no good way to go through it. When it gets repaired enough, you can kind of sometimes sneak over it, but that's my theory, James.
I think that's a very good theory. I know that there are a lot of cyclists, or at least judging from the Reddit threads, people are always asking questions about it, and I don't know if they're deterred, but you cannot get south of Big Sur. And I think that the reroute around that is
mountainous and
not
great.
Yep. So I think that's a good theory. Like,
okay.
That is definitely a deterrent, at least for the Central Coast and South.
So here's I'm going to ruin it. Used to be a lot of people that would do Seattle to San Francisco or Portland to San Francisco, and they're not there.
Yeah.
So
San Francisco is a spot where a lot of people
a
lot of
people. And so I think that's it has to be a factor. And I'm sure that there are people who would have considered doing the whole Pacific Coast who now are, as we said offline, doing the Trans Am or doing something different. But it doesn't explain all of it, because we ran into practically nobody all the way down here. And Portland to San Francisco was a big deal. And it doesn't, again, data point, but it's been a couple of years for me where I've experienced the same thing. And interesting. All right, that was our theory. Theory Corner is over.
Statistics. Miles bust from Bandon to Crescent City, 90. Miles driven from Crescent City to Medford, 106. Miles flown between podcast segments, 5,383. Total bicycle tourists encountered in camps for the entire trip, 0. Total miles cycled by James from Bandon to Mendocino, 412. Flats, 0. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedal Shift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedal Shift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community. Expanding into live shows and covering new tours. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options if you're not into the small monthly thing. Check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadis, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Drew Porter, Byron Patterson, Joaquin Robber, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Hankel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Jody Zaranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemiss, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latoile Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Ronald Paroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Kropke, Todd Grossbeck, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lico, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCullough, John Hickman, Carl Presseau, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Michael Azuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponsella, Chad Reno, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, Peggy Littlefield, Lauren Allensmith, Eric Burns, Thomas Pearl, Darren McKibben, Richard Stewart, Dave Fletcher, Jack Smith, Luke Parkinson, Ryan Patterson, Sarus Faravar, John Gardner, Sam Scruggs, Dwight Pintinger, Connie Bowder, Rob Merrifield, and thanks to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.